Welcome to Sports Talk with R and J. I am Steve Risser along here with Justin D'Onofrio. And again, we have another busy show. I mean, the NHL and the NBA are continuing their postseasons. Baseball's continued to play. And this is the first week in baseball they haven't had a COVID issue, so that's a positive. College football, the ACC kicks off this weekend. But we got to start with the NFL that kicks off tomorrow. And before we get into the games, we're going to talk about Von Miller. And yesterday we got a story that he got injured a tendon in his ankle on the last play of practice, and many people feared that he might be out for the entire season. This could be potentially season ending, but I've heard some optimism now that this might not end up being season ended. It might not be a season ending injury, so it's kind of up in the air what's going to happen with Von Miller. But this player is, I would even say, just because Drew Lock is a young quarterback and an inexperienced quarterback, this is the best player on the Broncos and the most important player on the Broncos. If you looked at the point spread with their game against the Titans, they were a 2-point favorite Monday night against the Titans. Now they're an underdog by a point and a half. So they're a 1.5 point underdog. So this guy is worth 3.5 points. Not many players outside of a quarterback are worth that much. So this guy means a ton to this Broncos team. And this was one of my playoff picks. This is one of my sleeper teams in the AFC. And if they don't have Von Miller for the season, I still think they're a 500 team, but I don't think they're a playoff team. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here with Von Miller. Hopefully, for his sake and for the Broncos' sake, he's okay. But we'll see what ends up happening with Von Miller. But a scary scene at practice on Tuesday for the Broncos.
Yeah, it was. It's such a tough loss for him if he's out for the year. And I heard, too, Bradley Chubb's questionable Monday night as well with a knee injury. So they have both of them out is such a huge loss, especially the way Tennessee likes to play with Derrick Henry and just run the football. But yeah, this is a team that only gave up just under 20 points a game last year. Von Miller is a huge part of that. He was going to be a huge part of this defense this year, trying to get him back to the playoffs. So it's such a tough loss for the Broncos. Hopefully he can come back, maybe late in the season, help them make a push. But it's unfortunate for the Broncos and Von.
And the funny thing is, when the Broncos made this pick 2 years ago, they thought, we're gonna have Bradley Chubb and Von Miller on the edges. We're gonna have a really good pass rush between those two guys. But last season, Bradley Chubb misses 12 games. Now this year, Von Miller might potentially miss the entire season. And if you look at their defense last year too, they lost 4 games. They had 4 games. They finished 7-9, and they had 4 games where they had a lead in the fourth quarter and lost those games. And I think a big reason for that is because they didn't have Bradley Chubb because teams were doubling Von Miller. So this is definitely an injury that could have a huge impact on the Broncos season if he's out for the entire year.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely does because it kind of changes that whole defense. And now, you can go over on the other side and just double up Bradley Chubb. And so, yeah, it's such a tough loss. And, again, with both those guys, Broncos fans are hoping to have, those two healthy, coming off the edge and, be a dynamic duo. But unfortunately, it just really hasn't happened the last few years.
No, the reason it hasn't happened is because the first year they were healthy, they were good, but the last couple of years it just hasn't been that way. Just because, let's be honest, neither of them have been healthy. And say Von Miller is out for the season, with this being his 10th year in the league, is he going to be able to come back from that injury? That's the big question.
Yeah, it is. I think we'll have to find out more information about the injury, but yeah, something like that, ankle, it could definitely be tough to come back from. He's got a lot of wear and tear already for being in the league in 10 years. Hopefully he can, because he's been a wrecking. He's been a force since he's been in the league. So hopefully he can continue that. But yeah, already being here 10 years, you do have to worry about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just hope for the Broncos' sake that he's okay and he plays at some point this season. But we're going to shift over to week one and do our preview of week one of the season. And we're going to start with the Thursday night game. You got 2 quarterbacks, 2 of the highest paid quarterbacks in the game. As you saw, Watson got his new deal on Saturday. And it's going to be an interesting game between these two teams, the Chiefs and the Texans. Obviously, the Chiefs have the better roster. And with Edwards-Helaire, with Travis Kelce, with Tyreek Hill, and even on defense with Frank Clark and Chris Jones. That's why I think they're going to win the game. I think they're going to win this game. I think a big reason for that is because of the way they're going to move the ball on offense. I think Edwards-Helaire is a really good game. His first game as a rookie. I think in the run game and in the pass game, I think Mahomes is a really good game getting the ball to Watkins, Hill, and Kelce. So I think they get in the 30s. And And on offense, I think the Texans have Deshaun Watson has a good game, but I think at times they struggle to run the football because David Johnson has not been a good running back since probably 2016 after he got hurt in 2016. And I think that the Chiefs put pressure on Deshaun Watson with Chris Jones and Frank Clark. I think there's pressure on Deshaun Watson. I think he makes some plays, but he doesn't make enough plays. And I got the Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions, starting 1-0 Thursday night, beating the Texans 34-24, Justin.
Yeah, I got the Chiefs winning this one 31-21 in the season opener. Supposed to be cold and rainy too, so if that's the case too, Texans have to run the ball more. Could be an issue for him. And this is Houston's defense last year gave up about 400 yards a game defensively, and that will not cut it against this Kansas City offense. I can't wait to see Clyde Edwards-Helaire in this offense. It's just going to be so fun to watch. And then, without Hopkins, last year he had 104 catches. Second most was Fuller with 49, and Stills had 40. So they're really going to need production to go up from Fuller and Stills to have any chance in this game. But Casey's going to be too much. I get the Chiefs winning 31-21.
We got my Giants opening the season Monday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they are hosting the Steelers on Monday night. And looking at this game as a Giants fan, I think this is going to be a close, competitive game. I think if you look at the Giants, they could struggle on the offensive side of the ball. And here's two of the reasons why. I think the biggest reason why they struggle is Andrew Thomas is going to have his hands full with T.J. Watt, and the Steelers are going to put T.J. Watt on that left side against Andrew Thomas. That's going to be a matchup Monday night, and that's going to be a matchup, in my opinion, Andrew Thomas is going to struggle in. It is tough. It's tough for a rookie to go up against, with the limited offseason, to go up against one of the best pass rushers in football. That's going to be a really, really tough matchup for the Giants. Also, I think Jones against this defense might have a turnover or two, because we saw last year he had a turnover. He pretty much had one turnover a game last year. I think he might have a turnover or two against this defense. I think the one positive though for the Giants on offense is the one thing the Steelers didn't do great last year is stop the run. They'll be a little bit better doing it with Stephon Tuitt being healthy and Devin Bush in his second year. But I think Saquon Barkley is a big game, and I expect him to have at least over 100 all-purpose yards in this game. So I do think the Giants do move the ball a little bit, but I think they kick field goals instead of scoring touchdowns. And on the defensive side of the ball, I think the Giants do get some pressure on Big Ben. I think the Steelers' offensive line is a little bit old because they have four starters that are in their 30s. I think they do get pressure with Marcus Golden and with Leonard Williams. I think they do a decent job stopping the run, too. The Steelers are not that good against the run, and the Giants were better against the run later in the season. So I think they do a decent job stopping the run. But I think that the difference in this game is going to be I think Big Ben is going to make less mistakes than Daniel Jones. And I think that Steelers defense is going to make the big play at the end of the game to win the game for the Steelers. And that's why I got the Steelers beating the Giants 20-16 on Monday night.
Yeah, I got the Steelers getting the win on the road 28-24. This Steelers team, with the Giants last year, really struggling hang on the football. The Steelers had 38 takeaways last year, so they're really good at taking advantage of that. It's gonna, it's just gonna be a good test for Andrew Thomas to see where he's at. And I know he didn't have a ton of time here, but he's got no time to settle in and kind of get experience here in an NFL game. He's got to go right up against TJ Watt, which is going to be tough. But I think with this offense and with Jason Garrett, I think they'll be able to put up some points. So again, if they can, if the Giants can hang on the ball and be able to score touchdowns, I think they have a chance to win it. But I think because, do the Steelers have enough weapons to make a run at this thing? They only had 7 rushing touchdowns last year. They still got Juju.
Smith-Schuster.
Smith-Schuster. But I just think the Steelers are going to be too much for them. I think they'll go into MetLife and get the win.
We got an AFC East matchup in Foxborough on Sunday as the Patriots host the Dolphins. This was a rematch of a Week 17 game where the Dolphins beat them to cost the Patriots home field advantage last year. And in this game, I think this is another close competitive game. I think on offense, Cam Newton is a good game. I think the biggest reason why Cam Newton is a good game is I think the running game for the Patriots is good. I think the Patriots are going to do a really good job of running the football with Sony Michel. I think having David Andrews back is going to be key. I think the Dolphins in the middle of their defense, the Dolphins struggle in the middle of their defense. So I think the Patriots will have a lot of success running the football, and that's going to open things up for the passing game, especially for tight end Devin Asiasi. I think he could have a good game in this game. And also, N'Keal Harry can make some plays as well. I think Julian Edelman might be limited because I think Byron Jones is going to be shadowing him in this game, the big free agent acquisition the Dolphins got in the offseason. And on the defensive side of the ball, though, I think Miami's going to have some success running the ball because of what New England lost in their front seven, Jamie Collins, Dante Hightower, and Kyle Van Noy. And we know Kyle Van Noy now plays with the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are going to be able to have some success running the ball, which is going to open up play action, which I think is going to help them. I think Mike Gesicki has a good game in the middle of the field. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was with Chan Gailey previously with the Bills and the Jets, I think he has a pretty good game too. But I think the biggest difference in this game is the Patriots' ability to run the ball, Cam Newton being able to have a good game. And I think that the Patriots are going to lock up the best, even though Parker had his way with Gilmore in the Week 17 game last year. I think Gilmore is going to lock up Devontae Parker, and that's going to be the difference. And I'm going to go with the Patriots in this game in a close one. I'm going 27-20 New England.
Yeah, I got New England win this thing 23-17. I think Gilmore's been thinking about that Week 17 game all summer long in winter, so I believe he's going to have a much better outing this time with Devontae Parker than he did first, Week 17. This is going to be a tough one. This Dolphin team did not come scared, Week 17, obviously, last year. I'm actually very, very concerned with this game. I think they'll be able to pull it out. But I would not be shocked to see Miami come back in here and get another one. I'm interested to see what the defense is. They have a lot of inexperience at linebacker. And the Dolphins really struggled to run the ball last year. They only had 72 rushing yards a game, but now they got Howard and Matt Breida, so they upgraded in that area. For the Pats offense, as with Edelman probably going to be guarded by Byron Jones. Can one of the wide receivers step up? Can that be Harry? So if somebody can help out, I think, they got a chance to be able to score some points, but I don't know if they'll be able but I think they should be able to come away and get Miami 23-17, but it'll be a close one.
We got another AFC East matchup in Buffalo as the Jets head to Buffalo to face the Bills. And I think in this game, I think the quarterbacks are pretty even. Sam Darnold and Josh Allen's pretty much a toss-up. But the rosters are not even comparable. The Bills have a much better roster than the Jets, and they're going to control this game. And I think a big reason why the Bills win this game by 2 scores, I think they control this game on the ground. I think they control it on the ground with Devin Singletary. I think they control the game on the ground with Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. And those guys control the game on the ground. That's going to open up play action, open stuff up for Stephon Diggs to have a pretty good game as well. And also, I think the Bills defense does a good job against the Jets offense, which outside of really Sam Darnold, this offense has a lot of question marks. I think they get pressure on Sam Darnold. They force a turnover from Sam Darnold. And I think Le'Veon Bell has a decent day, but not a great day. And I got the Bills winning this game. And I got the Bills winning it 24-13 over the Jets.
Yeah, I got Bills taking it 24-10. They should be able to control the ball, control the line of scrimmage. It's such a tough loss to the Jets to not have C.J. Mosley opted out, and with Adams being traded, there's not, their defense is not great, and I just think Buffalo will just be able to run it down their throats. And I'm interested to see what Adam Gase does now with Le'Veon Bell. He says he's going to use them a lot differently this year. He put blame on himself the way he did use them last year. So I'll be interesting to see if they can kind of get him going and open things up. But I guess 6 of the 7 wide receivers, 2 for the Jets right now, are on the injury list. I think most of them are questionable. I think Braxton Berrios is like the only one right now that's not on the injury report. But I just think the Jets do not have enough, and this Bills defense is really good. There's not too many holes in that defense, so I think Buffalo will be able to control it 24-10.
We got an NFC East matchup in Landover, Maryland, as the Eagles travel down to Washington to face the Washington football team. We got the Eagles facing the Redskins, and for the Eagles, I think this game is going to be a little bit of a struggle early for their offense because of their issues on the offensive line and the Redskins' defensive line. So I think that's what's going to keep the Redskins in the game early. But I think one player that has a really, really big game for the Eagles this week, and that's that's Miles Sanders. I think Miles Sanders has a big game in the run game, and I think he has a big game in the pass game. I think he's definitely going to have over 100 all-purpose yards, just like he did in Week 15 when they met up in December last year. So I think Miles Sanders has a big game, and that's going to open up stuff for Zach Ertz, and that's going to open up stuff for the rest of the offense too. And I think Carson Wentz has a pretty good game as well. And on the defensive side of the ball, even though Dwayne Haskins had a really good game against the Eagles in Week 15 last year, I think that that Eagle defense did not have Darius Slay, and I think Darius Slay will be all over Terry McLaurin all day, and the Eagles are going to force someone else to beat them, and I think that's going to be very, very hard. Seeing the lack of skill guys in the Redskins offense, I think the Redskins will have a lot of problems running the football. I think Dwayne Haskins will make some mistakes, especially being his first game in a new offense. I think Haskins has a tough day. I think the Eagles get pressure on Haskins as well, and I got the Eagles winning this game, and I got them winning it 23-10. Justin,
I got the Eagles taking it 24-13, and Eagles got to get out to a much better start than they did last year in Washington. I almost said as well. They were down 20-7.5, but had a nice comeback in the second. For Philly too, they were not great last year on getting off the field on third down. They gave up almost, I think, 40. It was around 44%, I think, offensive or their defense was. So they gotta be better at that. And then hopefully, but they should be able to really control this game. For the most part, they got, they're pretty healthy right now. At the receiver core mostly right now. So I think Jalen Rieger's out for this game, the rookie from TCU. But for the most part, Washington maybe will get some pressure on Wentz and make it tough for him. But again, I don't think Washington has enough in the secondary. And I think Washington as well this year will be better against the run. They gave up 146 yards a game last year against the run. They'll be better in that area, but not enough. And I think Philly will get the win at home.
We got an AFC North matchup in Baltimore as the Browns travel to Baltimore to face the Ravens. And we remember the Browns did win here last year. And a big reason for that was because of the way they ran the football. And I think they're going to have success doing that in this game. I think the Browns will be able to have a little bit of success running the ball. Not as much success they had in the past, because you look at the Ravens, now they got Patrick Queen and Calais Campbell on that defense. So I think the Browns have a little bit of success running the ball. I think the problem for the Browns on offense is I don't think they're going to get much out of Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham, because the Ravens got the best pair of corners in the league, and both can play. They're also really good in man coverage, Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters. And I think with the pressure the Ravens are going to get on Baker Mayfield, I think Mayfield's going to have a couple turnovers. Is going to have a rough day. And on offense for the Ravens, I think Lamar Jackson has a good game. I think the run game for the Ravens is really, really good. It's going to keep that defense off the field. I think Dobbins and Ingram are going to have a good day, which is going to set up play action to get the ball to Mark Andrews and Hollywood Brown. And I think the Ravens win this game. I think they win it by 2 scores. I got the Ravens over the Browns 27-17.
Yeah, I got Ravens 20-17. They should be able to take care of this one. Should be interesting what Kevin Stefanski's scheme with Cleveland. And Baker doesn't have a ton of experience under center. So that'll be interesting to kind of see how he does there. This is a team, too. They got to do much, especially Baker. 21 interceptions last year. They're -8 in the turnover margin. It's a new coaching staff, so I understand, new culture and all that, which I think it definitely is going to help this Browns team because they have the talent to make a run at the playoffs. But this Baltimore team I think, has too much. They upgraded the linebacker position. With Patrick Queen, they got Campbell. So I just think Baltimore to be it's going to be too much for this Cleveland team, and they should be able to take care of business.
We got an NFC matchup down in Atlanta as Russell Wilson and the Seahawks travel to Atlanta to face Matt Ryan and the Falcons. And I think this is going to be a fun game. I think this game is going to be back and forth, both offenses scoring a lot of points. I think that Seattle's going to have success running the ball. I think Russell Wilson's going to have success throwing the ball. And on the other side, I think that Matt Ryan's going to have a big day too, because Seattle has trouble getting to the quarterback, so he's going to have time to throw. I think Julio Jones has a big game. I even think Todd Gurley has a pretty good game too. I think he has a better game through the air than he does on the ground, but I think Todd Gurley still has a pretty good game. And I think this game is going to come right. This is going to be like a lot of Seahawks games this year. I feel like it's going to come right to the wire. It's going to be high scoring, but the Seahawks are going to win it at the end, probably with the game-winning field goal. I got Seattle winning in Atlanta 30-27.
Yeah, I got Seattle taking it 30-24. It seemed like last year too, Steve. Seems like every Seattle game was very high scoring. It came down the end for the most part. I assume we'll probably see the same this year. For this Seattle team, and they were 5-0 last year, going on the East Coast playing a 1:00 game. But Pete Carroll's been really good at that and get him adjusted to that. I think very underrated. Last year, it was Seattle jumped out 24-0 lead. Atlanta had 525 yards in the game, but they had 3 turnovers and 1 for 3.
Yeah, and let's not forget Matt Schaub was the starter in that game too.
Yeah, he was. So, and he was able to tear them up through the air. So Seattle's got to be much better. And you lost Conley too, so you lost one of your best pass rushers, which hurts a bit. But Seattle should be able to run the ball against these guys. They got to do a better job. They gave up 40 sacks last year. You got to keep Wilson. I know he can make plays with his feet and turn a broken play into something, but they got to do a much better job this season. And for Atlanta, should be interesting. Todd Gurley coming home, play for the Falcons, but it should be a fun one. But I think Seattle is going to be a little bit too much fun.
We have the Raiders traveling down to Carolina to face the Panthers, and I think this is going to be a close, really, really close, competitive game. I think the Raiders are at a disadvantage playing a 1:00 game in the Eastern time zone, and that's why I don't think the Panthers are going to win many games this year, but I think this is one of them they're going to win because on offense, I think Christian McCaffrey has a big day to open up the season. I think he has a big day in the pass game, and I think he has a big day in the run game. So I think McCaffrey's going to go rush for over 100 yards, might even have almost 100 yards receiving too. I think McCaffrey has a big game, which is going to open things up for Bridgewater. They get the ball to DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. So I think the Panthers score a lot of points on offense. And also I think the Raiders score some points too. I think that in the run game, Josh Jacobs has a big game. Darren Waller has a good game. But at the end of the day, I think this is a really fun game. I think these teams are going to go back and forth. But at the end of the day, I'm going to take the home team. I'm going to take the Panthers winning 27-24 over the Raiders. And I know who you're picking, Justin.
Yeah, I got Vegas. The same score, 27-24. I think for Carolina, 11 draft picks, all defense, a lot of new pieces on that side of the ball, and not with any preseason game and all that. I think there's going to be a very slow start, and I think the Raiders are going to be able to take advantage of that. This is a team that they kind of want to start. They want to go deep. They got a lot of deep threats now, and they only averaged 19 points a game last year. So Hunter Renfrow too. I think they're going to use him like a Julian Edelman in New England. I really like Renfrow. Not the most athletic guy, but good hands again, and just he's hard guy to bring down.
He's a Gruden grinder. We'll give you that.
Oh yeah, yes he is, and I think he's going to be a big part of this offense. And I think Jacobs is going to be a big game. Carolina definitely be able to put up some points because the Raiders' defense still is not very good. But I think Vegas is going to be able to get their first win.
Yeah, that should be an interesting game. That's going to definitely be an exciting game this week. But we got an NFC North matchup in Minnesota as the Packers head to Minnesota to face the Vikings. I think this will be a really, really good NFC North matchup. I think on offense for the Packers, I think that Aaron Jones has a pretty good game. I think because he had 2 pretty good games against the Vikings last year. I think Aaron Rodgers has a good game through the air. I think the Vikings, though, will get pressure on him, though. I think he'll be under pressure during the game because that pass rush of Yannick Ngakoue and Danielle Hunter, that's going to be one of the top. There's going to be 2 of the top edge rushers in the game, and having them on one team is going to be pretty good for the Vikings. So, but on defense for the Packers, I think that they get pressure on Kirk Cousins with Preston Smith and Za'Darius Smith. But I do think Dalvin Cook has a good game through the air. I think Kirk Cousins makes some plays as well. But I think the biggest difference in this game is going to be, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to make more plays than Kirk Cousins because he's got Devontae Adams and the Vikings. Even though Adam Thielen's good, don't have a receiver as good as Devontae Adams. I think they get pressure on Kirk Cousins with their pass rush. I think with Za'Darius Smith and Preston Smith. And I think this game comes right down to the wire with the Packers winning, with the Vikings having the ball at the end. I think either Preston Smith or Za'Darius Smith makes a play or Kirk Cousins throws an interception. And the Packers win this game. And I got the Packers winning it 24-20.
Yeah, I get the same score as you. Packers winning 24-20. Because the Packers get a second guy to step up with Devontae Adams. How can Green Bay? Because I do worry in this game if Green Bay cannot slow down Dalvin Cook and he can run for 130 yards, the Green Bay is going to be in trouble in this game because I think he'll open up play action for Kirk Cousins and I think he'll have some success if they can get pressure on him and they got a much better chance. But it should be interesting to see Hunter and Ngakoue in the pass rush. I think they could get some pressure on Rodgers, maybe force him out of the pocket, make a mistake. But I think the Packers are going to be able to win this game. But this one, huge one, to win the NFC North, even though it's week 1.
Absolutely. These two teams are clearly the two top the top two teams in the NFC North. But we'll stay in the NFC North as we have another matchup in the NFC North, and the Bears travel to Detroit to face the Lions. And obviously, we got the big quarterback controversy between Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky. I think obviously Mitch Trubisky was the right choice to start at quarterback for the Bears because you just don't want to give up on him right away. I think that's the right choice for the Bears at quarterback. And for the game, I think the Bears, even though Mitch Trubisky has played well against the Lions, I think they're going to struggle on offense. I like what the Lions did at corner, drafting Jeffrey Okudah and getting Desmond Trufant. So I think that Trubisky is going to struggle a little bit, especially in the passing game. I think the Bears may have a little bit of success in the running game. I think because the Lions defense has really, really struggled against the run. And on offense for the Lions, I think they have success running the ball. Obviously, getting Adrian Peterson. We don't know if DeAndre is going to play, but if he can't play, you got Kerryon Johnson, DeAndre Swift, and Adrian Peterson. That's a pretty good running game. So I think they'll have success on the ground. I think what this game is going to come down to is Matthew Stafford making more plays and less mistakes than Mitch Trubisky. And I think this game again comes right down to the end with the Lions defense having to make a play against Mitch Trubisky, and I think they do it. And that's why I got the Lions beating the Bears 23-16.
Yeah, I got the Lions winning 21-20. Now Trubisky got Foles breathing down his neck. He says he feels fresh and he's, on a clean slate now. We'll see. I know David Montgomery's dealing with a soft tissue issue in his groin, so he's questionable at the moment. They still got Cohen in the backfield, but I think the Lions definitely need to, this is a game because I see people think, they could win 6-7 games, and if they want to win that many, this is a game they need to win. AP is nice to get in that running back room. And I think if this offense can click, and because this offense could score some points, it's just, I worry more about their defense, but I think they should be able to get this one at home 21-20.
We got an AFC South matchup in Jacksonville as the Colts traveled down to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars. And even though this is a division game, even though I don't think the Colts are going to be that good, going to be as good as people think this year, I think the Colts win this game, and I think they win it big. I think they control this game on the ground with their offensive line and with Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor. That'll open things up for Phillip Rivers to get the ball to Michael Pittman Jr. and T.Y. Hilton and Jack Doyle. And I think on the defensive side of the ball, the Colts with DeForest Buckner and Justin Houston get pressure on Gardner Minshew. I think that they stop the run. I think it's going to be a rough day for Gardner Minshew, and I got the Colts winning this game in a blowout. I got the Colts beating the Jaguars 34-13.
Yeah, I got it. The Colts winning this one 30-14. You know who the Jacksonville Jaguars starting running back is going to be?
Who is it? I'm not even sure.
James Robinson. He's a rookie from Illinois State, undrafted. He's actually a decent back.
You probably watched a little bit of him last year. You might be the one person who watched a little bit of him last year. I bet.
Yeah. I saw him in the play.
FCS, of course. You're like the only person who watched the FCS playoffs. But yeah, that's the thing about you. You know all these middle level players.
Oh yeah. So I think he has some decent. Again, it'll be interesting to see. Now how he goes up against an NFL defense. Not a big pass catcher in the backfield, out of the backfield. But this Jacksonville Jaguars team, it's gonna be a really rough year. No Sards are back anymore from that 2017 run in the AFC Championship game. Gonna be fun to how does Phillip Rivers look with this offense? Again, the Colts are really just one kind of quarterback away. I know they have Rivers, but this team get a quarterback and they can make a run. AFC Championship game. They got the talent. But the Colts will be able to take it 30-14.
We'll go to the 4:00 games, and we'll go to the game of the week, and that is the Buccaneers traveling to New Orleans to face the Saints. It's the matchup between Tom Brady and Drew Brees. I mean, we got two future first-ballot Hall of Fame quarterbacks going at it, both in their 40s, both are still top 10 quarterbacks in the league, which is amazing. And I think this is going to be a great game. I think we'll start with the ball. I think on the Bucs side of the ball on offense, I think even though the Saints have to run well, their one weakness on defense is that interior of their defensive line. So I think I think the Bucs run the ball better than the Saints do. I'll give you that. I think Brady has a good game in his first game. Yes, he's going to be under some pressure. I think Donovan Smith's going to have some trouble with Cameron Jordan. I think that Tristan Wirfs might have some problems with Marcus Davenport either. But we know Brady. He knows when to get rid of the ball. He knows he'll be able to dump it off to Ronald Jones. Also, he's got he'll have Gronk and OJ Howard in the middle of the field. And also you got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I think the big matchup to watch in this game is going to be Mike Evans against Marshawn Lattimore, because Marshawn Lattimore has had his way with Mike Evans in the 3 years they went up against each other. Mike Evans has only gone for over 100 yards one time, and that was on opening day in 2018 when Ryan Fitzpatrick was the quarterback. The 5 other times Jameis Winston was the quarterback, he was held under 100 yards by Marshawn Lattimore. But Jameis Winston isn't there anymore. Tom Brady's there. So that's why I think Mike Evans still has a pretty good game. I think Chris Godwin has a pretty good game. And I think the Bucs get into the 30s on offense. And for the Saints, I think they have a big day on offense as well. I think running the ball is where they're not going to have a good day. I think the Bucs are going to shut down that running game of Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray. I think they do that. But I think Drew Brees has a big day in the passing game, getting the ball to Michael Thomas. I think Michael Thomas has a big game. I think he goes for over 100 yards. Like, we remember the game he had in week 5 when these two teams played. He almost had 200 yards receiving. He had a huge day. And then I think Emmanuel Sanders has a big game too. But I think this game is going to come down to the end, the wire. And I think either Brady wins it at the end, or this Bucs defense, which is much improved, especially in the front seven, makes a stop and wins it at the end. And I got the Bucs beating the Saints 31-27. I know it's their first game. They don't know each other well, but we know Brady's been working with these guys in the offseason. That's why I got them winning this game 31-27.
Yeah, I get the opposite. Or I get the same score, but I got the Saints winning this one 31-27. And did you know, Steve, too, Brees and Brady are 1-2 all time in the most passing touchdowns in week 1. Brees has 39 and Brady's got 37. But could be a shootout. Should be fun. Both these guys in the same division now. Fournette pick up really big. I feel like for the Bucs, because they didn't really have a great run.
And I even wrote an article about Fournette going to the Bucs, making him the clear favorite. So if I picked the Saints in this game, I'd look like a hypocrite. So I definitely had to pick the Bucs.
Yeah. I just don't know how many snaps he's going to get this week. I don't know. That's kind of one of the other reasons why I'm going with the Saints. But this Bucs line is going to get tested. I know they got to. I know they kind of upgraded in the draft a little bit, but it's the same team got 51 sacks a year ago. And so they can get pressure on Brady. I know, you said it, but Brady knows when to get rid of the ball. He does a great job of that. But it'll be interesting. It should be a shootout. Last team with the ball is going to win this game.
And one thing I didn't mention too is on the other side of the offensive line. I think the matchup between Shaq Barrett and Tyron Armstead, that's going to be a great matchup to watch. If Barrett's on Armstead's side, I'm really looking forward to that matchup too.
Yeah, that should be a good matchup. And
looks like we might have lost Justin there, but yeah, I mean, as Justin said, he's picking the Saints. I'm picking the Bucs. This is going to be an awesome game between these two teams. I'm really, really looking forward to this matchup between these two teams. It's going to be 4:00, 4:25 Fox, and I'll definitely be watching that game on Sunday. But we got an NFC West matchup in San Francisco as the Cardinals travel to San Francisco to face the 49ers. And I got an upset here. I'm going to go with the Cardinals to win this game. And here's a big reason why. I think that Kyler Murray's going to have a good game. Recently paid DeAndre Hopkins. I think he has a big game for the Cardinals. I think DeAndre Hopkins has a big game. I think Kenyon Drake, who had a good game when they played last year, I think Kenyon Drake has a good game as well. So I think the Cardinals offense does a good job moving the ball against the 49ers defense. I think a big reason for that is there's a good chance D Ford might not play for the 49ers. So that will not make their pass rush as difficult. There will still be pressure on Kyler Murray, but I don't think that their pass rush will not be as much of a pass rush without D Ford. And on the other side of the ball, I think the Cardinals defense has definitely improved this year. I think that with the addition of Isaiah Simmons, obviously they got Chandler Jones, Jordan Hicks, and you got Budda Baker, and hopefully Patrick Peterson can be a little bit better than he was last year. And I think the thing is for the Niners offense too is they lost some guys in that offense. They're probably going to be without Deebo Samuel in this game, and they did lose Emmanuel Sanders to New Orleans. So I think that the Niners offense isn't. They'll have success running the ball, but in terms of, and they do have one of the best tight ends in the game in George Kittle, but in terms of receivers, I think they're going to be a little bit thin in this game, and I think that's a big reason why I think Arizona wins this game. And I got the Cardinals taking the Niners in the upset in Week 1, 28-24. It'll be just fun to watch this NFC West all year. I mean, see with the Seahawks, and you got the 49ers and Cardinals. I think all three are going to be playoff teams. Then you got the Rams. I don't think it'll be that good, but I do think that they'll be competitive. And we can't forget they were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago as well. And Justin, yes, we lost him, but he's got the Niners winning this game 23-21. So this will be a really, really interesting game on Sunday. Are you back, Justin?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, let's talk. Have you talked about the Niners and the Cardinals? Justin? I think we might have lost Justin again. So I'm going to go to the Monday night game, and obviously as we just talked about, with the Von Miller injury between we got the Titans. Are you back, Justin? You're back, Justin?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No problem. We'll talk Niners. We'll talk Niners Cardinals. Then we'll go to the Monday night game.
Okay. I'll just wrap it up. Should be interesting what Hopkins adding to this offense and the chemistry with him and Murray. Not having a full offseason. But I think that I think San Francisco will be able to steal this one.
Yeah, that obviously, as I've been saying, that should be an interesting game. So now we'll go to the second Monday night game between the Titans and the Broncos. And obviously, we talked about the Von Miller news with him not being there, and that was big because him not being there really swung this game. 3.5 points. Now the Titans are are favored by 1.5 points to beat the Broncos. They were a 2-point underdog, and I think they're going to beat the Broncos. Now I had the Broncos winning, but now I got the Titans winning because of Derrick Henry. I think he'll be able to have success on the ground now that Von Miller's not there. Henry will be able to have more success on the ground, open up play action for Ryan Tannehill to get the ball to AJ Brown. So I think they have a decent game. And I think on the defensive side of the ball, I think that the Titans defense does a good job getting pressure on Drew Lock, containing the run game of Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay. And I think this game comes down to the end, but I think it's a one-score game. But I got the Titans going into Denver and beating the Broncos 24-17, Justin.
Yeah, I got Tennessee as well in this one, 21-17. I think that now without Von Miller, I think Derrick Henry's going to be able to have a big game, especially if Chubb's questionable too and he can't get on the field. It's going to be such a tough loss for Denver. I think Denver could be good. I just think week one, it's going to be tough. They haven't played any preseason games, so I don't know what the chemistry is going to be like with this offense. So I think there could be a struggle here for the Broncos to get anything going at home. Also, Tennessee's got to be much better because they did give up 56 sacks too. So that's kind of a year ago. So you had Miller and Chubb. I'd probably go Denver, but because of that, I just think Tennessee should be able to win this game. It'd be interesting too to see if Tannehill can kind of build off momentum to the end of his regular season last year.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens there. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens in week one. I think this is going to be one of the most unpredictable week ones we've ever had. I mean, no result in week one is going to surprise me because of the way this offseason's been. It's been such an unusual offseason. We've never seen an offseason like this where we've had no preseason games, limited training, full training camp, but limited contact in training camp, virtual OTA. Such an unusual offseason that no result in week one or even the first 2 or 3 weeks or even the first month of the season is really even going to surprise me because of how limited this offseason has been, how crazy everything has been. So our picks could be 8-8 or 9-7 in week one, and I wouldn't be surprised because this is such a tough week to pick games.
Yeah, it is. And, these guys are so used to having 4 preseason games. And even though these starters usually only play like a series or 2 or half, week 3, again, I think we're going to see a lot of defensive guys miss tackles. I think it's kind of going to be like college football week 1 or 2, where it's going to be a lot of sloppy football, a lot of missed tackles. I think we're going to see that for the first few weeks because none of these guys have really, again, you can kind of scrimmage. I know teams have scrimmage, but again, until you actually get out there on the field and play, we're not going to be able to see it. It's going to be very sloppy, I think, first few weeks.
And my bad, we forgot about one other game in week one. It's the Chargers visiting Cincinnati to face the Bengals. And I think with Joe Burrow, I think he being already named team captain, and I think I really like what he's doing. I like some of the weapons he's got with Joe Mixon, with AJ Green, with Tyler Boyd. And I got a little bit of a battle for you in an auction draft with Tyler Boyd last night.
Mm-hmm.
And in that auction draft we had. So yeah, so I really like the weapons the Bengals have. So I think they're going to have some success moving the ball. Yes, there'll be pressure on Joe Burrow because the Chargers with Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa, they get a really, really good pass rush. But I think Joe Burrow is going to be able to move the ball. I think Derwin James is going to be a big loss in this game for the Chargers. He's out for the season, so that's why I think Joe Mixon is going to have success in the pass game and in the run game, and I think that's another reason why the Bengals will be able to move the ball. And on the other side of the ball, I think the Bengals get pressure on Tyrod Taylor. I think Tyrod Taylor has a pretty good game, even though Mike Williams probably won't play. I think he gets the ball to Keenan Allen. He has a pretty good game. Austin Eckler has a good game. It has a good game in the pass game too, and a little bit of a decent game in the run game because the Bengals aren't good stopping the run. But I think this game comes down to the end, and I think Joe Burrow in his first game has a game-winning drive, and I think the Bengals beat the Chargers. Joe Burrow gets his first win in his first NFL start, 23-20.
Yeah, I get the Bengals. I get Joe Burrow going 1-0 NFL career, 2017. This Chargers team, too, in the second year last year, only gave up 212 passing yards a game. But again, you lose a guy like Derwin James, it's gonna hurt. I'm interested to see how in sync Joe Burrow is in with his wide receiver, with his offensive weapons. That would be kind of interesting to see. But I think the Bengals are going to be able to do enough at home to be able to get the win. But this should be a good one. I'm excited to watch Joe Burrow try to lead, his kind of hometown team here in this rebuild.
And how do we forget this? We got the Sunday night game between the Cowboys and the Rams. And this should be a really good game. I think the Cowboys are going to have a lot of success on offense in this game. I think, especially because of Ezekiel Elliott, and the Rams were not good against the run last year. They lose Corey Littleton to free agency. I think they really are going to struggle to stop, even though they got Aaron Donald on that defensive line. They're really going to struggle to stop the run. I think that Ezekiel Elliott has a huge game and goes for over 100 yards. It sets up play action for Dak Prescott. He's able to get the ball to Blake Jarwin and CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup. I say that, though, because I think Jalen Ramsey is going to do a good job limiting Amari Cooper's production. Amari Cooper struggles against good corners that shut him down. But I do think the Cowboys definitely put up some points in this game. And I think the Rams do, too. I think they struggle to run the ball with Cam Akers. But I think the Cowboys secondary is not good. And I think that Jared Goff exposes that secondary. Cooper Kupp has a good game. Robert Woods has a really good game. I think Jared Goff has a really good game as well. But I think it's gonna be a one-score game. But because of the Cowboys offense, I'm gonna take them 31-24 over the Rams. Justin.
Yeah, I got Dallas winning this one 34-28. And this Dallas team last year averaged 431 yards a game. Now you add CeeDee Lamb in that mix. Really, again, gives you another nice option for Dak Prescott. So they're definitely be able to put up some points. They only forced 7 interceptions last year. Now you lost a piece in the secondary. Byron Jones is gone. So I think, Jared Goff's going to be able to have some success through the air. But I think Dallas offense would be too much for the Rams. As you said, too, Corey Littleton, their leading tackle last year is gone, which hurts. And I think Dallas will be able to get the win on the road. And also, debuting the new stadium.
Yeah, SoFi Stadium. First game at SoFi Stadium. Even though there'll be no fans, it'll be the first game at that stadium. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Cowboys. And just like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in week 1. It's probably going to be unpredictable. It's going to be crazy, but we can't wait for what's going to happen on Sunday. And there's even Thursday, even tomorrow night when it all starts. So we just can't wait for everything to get kicked off for this NFL season. But we got to shift over to the NBA. And last night, one of the best players in the game, he didn't play, but his team got eliminated as the Heat knocked out the Bucks from the playoffs 4-1. The Heat advanced to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 6 years. And here's the biggest takeaway of this series. Miami is the best organization in the NBA. We all have to admit that. Jimmy Butler the Sixers made a humongous mistake trading Jimmy Butler. That should be a mistake that should get Elton Brand fired. He was great in game 1. He was great in game 3. So they made a humongous mistake doing that. And if you look at Giannis, yes, you have to hear a lot of, doesn't have a great number 2. Middleton did have a pretty good series. If Giannis wants to be better than LeBron, Durant, and Kawhi, he needs to get a consistent jump shot and a three-point shot. If not, he is not better than either of those 3 guys. I don't care if he wins the MVP. He is not better than either of those 3 guys because he doesn't have that. And in this game, you've got to be able to shoot threes. And that's the issue with Giannis. And yes, Giannis was banged up in game 3. He didn't play most of game 4. He didn't play game 5. But the biggest reason why the Bucks are going home and why Giannis won't get to the NBA Finals again in a year where it was the Bucks Eastern Conference to lose is because Giannis does not have that jump shot. And the Heat were able to expose him defensively in that series. And the Heat are moving on, and the Bucks are not.
Yeah, and you're right, because I know we talked about the same thing with Ben Simmons. Until you get a consistent jump shot in a league now, which is all 3-point shooting, again, it's easier to guard you. It's easier. You can back off and you can help now off the drive, and it's a lot easier. Again, he's not an easy guy to guard, but it, you know, it, when he doesn't have that 3-point shot, he's not really a threat out there. But Miami had a really good, game plan though. Stop him the first two games when he was healthy. Milwaukee came out firing last night. He felt, they shot the ball well early, but that was about it. In the first quarter, Middleton really stepped up. In Game 4 when Giannis went out, kind of helped them to get that win in OT. But I remember last summer when the Miami signed Jimmy Butler, I was really questioning it. I was really, why is he coming here?
Yeah, we talked about it on our show, and it was like, why is he coming here? He's going to be one and done. Now they're getting to the conference finals because he embodies exactly what Eric Spoelstra and Pat Riley want to do.
Yeah. It was a perfect pickup, and it was a pick, that it's helped them get right back to the Eastern Conference Finals. And this Heat team's fun to watch. The way they play defense, they're tough out, and to beat the Bucs in 5 games, impressive. But and I also think Bledsoe last night and even really really struggled in the field. They really needed him to step up, and he really could not. He could not hit a shot last night.
Oh no, not at all. But now that the Bucs are done, the big question is Giannis's future going to be with the Milwaukee Bucks? He only has 1 more year left on his contract before he becomes a free agent after the 2021 season. And looking at what he's got around him now, I like Middleton. I think Giannis needs to improve his game, but I think Giannis needs to have I think Middleton's a decent 2, but I think Giannis has to have a more consistent 2. And I was listening to Mike Greenberg a little bit before the show, do his radio show, and he brought up the Chris Paul idea. Maybe the Bucks go out and get Chris Paul, trade for him, have Chris Paul and Giannis play together, and that would make some sense because as we see, the Thunder fired Billy Donovan because I think they both mutually parted ways and I think that's the one thing in sports where the two sides did mutually part ways. It looked like the Thunder are going to be rebuilding, and they're probably going to trade Chris Paul. So, say you put Chris Paul with Giannis, I think you're looking at a team that is definitely better than the one than the last 2 years. A team that failed to reach the finals the last 2 years.
Yeah, no, I think you'd be right. I kind of did hear that rumor of Chris Paul to Milwaukee. I think that really helped out because Chris Paul's had a lot of playoff experience, and he played well against the Rockets in round 1. He played really well against his former team. I think that would really kind of help out with Middleton as well. I think that would really, really work. And I think, it'd help Milwaukee out big time just because of the experience that Chris Paul has. And he's still a guy chasing for a ring. He hasn't gotten that yet. So I think, you add another guy that's hungry to win like Chris Paul. I think, and a veteran, I think it really will help out that lineup.
Yeah, and also this situation very very reminiscent of when LeBron LeBron lost a tough series. I remember he lost a tough series to the Magic, a series he probably shouldn't have lost in the conference finals with 1 year left on his deal. LeBron doesn't end up getting a new deal. The team doesn't make the finals the next year, and then LeBron's gone. Similar situation if the Bucks don't sign an extension with Giannis could very easily happen to Giannis.
It could, I actually have a friend who's a Bucks fan, and he's already.
Yeah, you got some friends. I mean, Bucks, Kings, you guys are all over the map.
And then mostly the rest of them are Celtics and Knicks.
Yeah.
Mostly for the most part. Actually, I have one that's a Heat fan.
Oh wow! So you guys all over the place. He probably became a Heat fan when LeBron came, though.
Yeah, I think he was. Yeah. End up, but I guess he stayed. But I think it'd be tough, but I think he said last night he wants to sign a new deal. I don't know though. Again, we don't really know. I know Milwaukee loves him. I know Milwaukee wants to keep him. I think again, I think they add Chris Paul. They get to the finals next year. I definitely think he stays. If they get bounced before the finals, again, it's tough. I could see him leaving. I could see him saying, I don't know if he wants, because he's not really, I don't know, he's not I don't know about him in a big market.
I think he wants to stay with the Bucks, but if the Bucks don't improve the team, seeing the way the NBA is trending, he's gonna be forced to leave. That's what's gonna happen. He wants to. I think he wants to stay with the Bucks, but the way the league's trending, if this team doesn't get better, doesn't get to the finals next year, he's probably gonna leave.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. I don't know if he'd fit kind of in a big market, because again, he really hasn't taken too much criticism because he played the market. I know he's starting to now that this was his kind of series to lose. I know he's beat up and all that, but I don't know how he would do in a big market. Again, he would still be great, but could he take that criticism in a big market if he does go to an LA? I've even heard like the Heater, would be a favorite for him, but we'll see. I think I agree with you. I think he does want to stay.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think he wants to stay. I mean, yeah, I don't think the market's really going to matter. I think he'll be a great player anywhere, but I just think that if the Bucks don't get to the NBA Finals next year, I think you're going to see. I think he's going to. If the Bucks don't sign him to an extension this off season, if they don't get to the finals next year, I think Giannis is gone. But we got to get to the other number one seed in the NBA, and that's the Lakers. And they had a big win last night. I mean, LeBron and AD were outstanding. Got a huge performance by Rondo off the bench. He had 21 points off the bench. He's played really, really well in this series. Him coming back has really helped him in this series. Kuzma's played well too. And for the Rockets, they've really played well in the series as well. I mean, I think the biggest thing for them though is, and why I think they lost games 2 and 3 is they didn't have Westbrook, Harden, and Gordon all have good games. That was the thing in game 1. Westbrook, Gordon, and Harden all had good games in game 1. In game 2, Westbrook was off. In game 3, Gordon was off. And if they're going to win this series, they need pretty much every game, all their top 3 guys, Gordon, Westbrook, and Harden, all to have good games if they want to beat the Lakers in the series, because a lot of people ask, who's the Lakers' third guy? Kuzma's played pretty well, and Rondo's really stepped up off the bench to really help their depth. So biggest key to the Rockets is they need Harden, Westbrook, and Gordon to have good games, or they're in the rest of these games in the series, or they're not going to win the series.
Yeah. They definitely need all 3 of those guys. I think game 2 or game 3 as well. I thought the Rockets too, just down the stretch, were not good. Again, they didn't hit too many shots, kind of sloppy. And then Westbrook too with like the 7 turnovers in game 2. I think coming down the stretch when you play a guy like LeBron, who's been able to be clutch his entire career, it's you got to be able to at least slow him down, or if not, you're gonna have to be able to at least put up some points as well to keep up. And they really haven't been able to do that. Houston too got 27 points off his Lakers turnovers last night. Game one. Game 1 they did. But yeah, I've been really impressed with Rondo. All 3 games, he's played really, really well. And if he can continue to play like that, it's that Lakers team's really dangerous, especially if Kuzma could add, as he did last night, 14 to 16 points, somewhere in that range. It really, really makes them a tough team to beat.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, if they have everything going, the bench is playing well, LeBron and AD are on, I think they're right there neck and neck with the Clippers, the best team in the NBA.
Yeah, definitely, because they have that score. They have that kind of third score, and then you add Kuzma, which isn't a bad 4th option at all right now for the roster. So yeah, it makes them dangerous. It makes them they're definitely a title contender right now, but it kind of puts them really up there as as a favorite, and they'd be tough to stop then if he continue to play like that.
Absolutely. But we got to go to the other LA team who has a 2-1 lead in their series over the Denver Nuggets. They got a big win on Monday night. Paul George and Kawhi, they came to play. They played really, really well. And I think the biggest thing, and I think for the Clippers, I think the biggest reason why they're going to beat the Nuggets in this series and probably beat them in 5, maybe 6 games at most, is that they're containing Jamal Murray. I mean, they contained Jamal Murray in game 1. They contained him in game 3. Yes, Jokic has played really, really well. But it's, as I've said, and I've been consistent about this all postseason, in today's NBA, it's very, very hard to win a championship with your best player as a center. Even though Jokic is the best center in the league, if you could shut down, if the Clippers can shut down contain Jamal Murray, they're going to win the series, and they've done that so far. And Paul George has stepped up. He's been good in every game of the series. Yes, Kawhi probably played one of the worst games you'll ever see him play in Game 2. That was the reason why the Nuggets beat them in game 2. But Paul George, who did not play well in the series against Dallas, has played really, really well against the Nuggets, and that has been the difference in why the Clippers are beating the Nuggets right now.
Yeah, because again, with Jokic with the center, it's we've talked, it's a guard-oriented league, and if you're able to kind of stop a team's best guard, you're gonna have a really, really good chance to win. And the Clippers too, they don't really have a guy that could guard Jokic. Zubac's not a guy that could slow him down at all. But yeah, they've been able to contain him, and it's really been big. I know Michael Porter stepped up for this team.
That was big in Game 3. Porter Jr. was really, really good for them. And if he could continue, they're going to stay in that series if Porter Jr. continue to play the way he did in the bubble.
Yeah, if he can put up 18 to 10, it definitely keeps them in that game, because you're going to need a guy most likely to kind of step up, because Jamal Murray, in Game 3 only had 14. You're not probably going to see him score 30, 35. So they need somebody to kind of fill that void, and Porter was able to do that. After Game 1 and seeing that blowout, I thought this was pretty going to be a simple series. But the last 2 games, Denver's been able to keep it close. I know Kawhi, probably one of the worst games I've seen him play. And Denver be able to keep it close. I think maybe they may be able to steal one more, but I'm not 100% positively able to. But I think they can give the Clippers the game. Maybe they could kind of steal one towards the end. But again, Denver's just kind of missing that third star. They're kind of missing that other star. Again, I know they're hoping Porter can be that guy, because he's supposed to be the runaway first overall pick a couple years ago, but injury really hurt him there. So, Denver's kind of missing that one guy. And if Porter's kind of been able to fill that role in Game 3, maybe continue, they'll steal maybe one more in the series.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening there. I mean, I still think the Clippers win in 5, but if Porter continues to play the way he did in Game 3, the Clippers can definitely take it to 6 games. But we'll wrap up our NBA talk talking about the Celtics and the Raptors. And the Celtics won big, 111 to 89 on Monday night. And here's the bottom line of the series: the big 3 of Tatum, Kemba, and Jaylen Brown are too much for the Raptors. The Raptors are lucky that the series isn't over, because if it wasn't for Anunoby's 3, this series would be over already. The Celtics would have won in 5. Here's the biggest thing for the Raptors: they completely miss Kawhi Leonard. I mean, Kawhi Leonard. I know Van Fleet is improved and he's played well, but he's no Kawhi Leonard. And Siakam, let's just be honest, he's just not. I mean, yes, he averaged 23 points in the regular season, but watching him in this postseason, he's just not an elite player. He's not a great player. So the Raptors desperately miss Kawhi Leonard. Huge mistake not re-sign. I know Kawhi was probably not going to re-sign there, but a huge mistake not re-signing Kawhi Leonard. And now trying to get Fred Van Fleet to re-sign there is going to be hard now that Kawhi's not there. So the defending champs are not looking like they're going to be on top of the NBA for years to come because of them not re-signing probably one of the best players in the game, and now having a hard time to re-sign an up-and-coming player like Fred Van Fleet. I think the Celtics finish this in 6 tonight.
Yeah, I think Celtics would finish it. And, I don't think Kawhi was going to come back anyway. Did he try to re-sign him? I think, his mind was set on LA for a while. But I think, Siakam misses that kind of Kawhi, with him at the forward position. And this Celtics team probably could have got this week. Because in Game 4, I figured Boston's a bounce back, because they've been able to, for the most part, control this series. And I was very surprised at how bad they looked in Game 4. I think, again, I was only a 7-point loss, but I thought that score was, it was deceiving. I thought, Toronto was a much better team in that game. But they bounced back in Game 5. Jaylen Brown played well. Again, Kemba hit some big shots, a couple setbacks for him. Brett Wanamaker came off the bench, got all 15 of the bench points. And I guess Gordon Hayward is back in Orlando, and he's in quarantine until noon on Friday. So he would be available, I would, for the Eastern Conference Finals, if they can finish it off here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they end up finishing it off. I mean, they should be able to. I don't think the Raptors. I think they were a fraudulent. I think they've had a really good year, but I think they've been a fraudulent team all year. They've not been anywhere near as good as their record's been, and that's why I personally think the Celtics are going to finish it off. But we got to go to baseball, and we got to go to probably the most disappointing team in baseball, and that's the Yankees. And this last month, they've been completely disappointing, losing 15 of their last 20 games, and they just find new ways to lose. Either they don't hit one night like last night, either the bullpen is absolutely terrible like it was Monday night, or their starting pitching isn't any good. So they find different ways to lose. And obviously, Brian Cashman, he addressed the team. We remember the last time, though, when Cashman addressed the team. That was in Atlanta back in – you might be a little too young for this, but that was back in Atlanta back in – do you remember that?
Yeah, 09, yeah.
09 when he addressed the team in Atlanta, and then that team went on a huge run, and they ended up winning the World Series. But he addressed the team last night, no change. They end up losing 2-1. They can't do anything well. Offensively, they're right now 17th in runs scored, so they're average offensively. Their bullpen has been a total mess since this losing streak. Ottavino's been terrible. Green has struggled. Chapman hasn't been good. And even Britton struggled the other day, giving up those 2 runs in the 8th inning against the Mets. So their bullpen hasn't been good. And the rotation, yes, Tanaka's pitched better. He's been definitely their best starter during this losing streak. But Garrett Cole, and let's just end any Cy Young talk with Garrett Cole. I don't want to hear any Cy Young talk with Garrett Cole. That is over. There is no chance he's winning the Cy Young, and not at this point now. And just like I said 2 weeks ago, he lost the Cy Young when he didn't pitch well against the Braves. He is now. I know he pitched 5, shutout innings against an Orioles team that didn't have their best player, but then he completely implodes in the 6th inning. The Cy Young talk with Garrett Cole, I still think he's one of the top pitchers in baseball, but he just doesn't have enough time to work through it in a shortened season. The Cy Young talk is over with Garrett Cole. He's not winning that. And then the rest of the rotation, Happ has pitched better. But the funny thing with Happ is when he pitches well, the Yankees don't score runs. When he doesn't pitch well, the Yankees score runs. So it seems like nothing coordinates at all. And then the rest of the rotation, Jordan Montgomery's been absolutely terrible. He was absolutely terrible against the Rays. Oh, and then he only gave the Yankees like 3 2/3 innings the other night. So he's been absolutely terrible for them. So they just have been. This is right now not a good baseball team, and it just hasn't been for the last 20 games. I mean, just looking at this team, I know they've had Judge and Stanton out, but Judge and Stanton are out, all the time. So that excuse has got to end. This baseball team is just yes. I still think the 60-game season has affected them. But this has just been a total disappointment this season so far.
Yeah, this has been a disaster since the 16-6 start. And I know, I know Boone is not in charge of the lineup day in and day out. But how do you bench LeMahieu Saturday and then Torres Sunday? Because they both need days off.
And you're fighting for a playoff spot. That's what I don't get.
And Torres is the guy that needs to get going, come out the DL, and he rakes at Camden Yards. I don't understand it. This is why I'm not a big analytics guy, especially with the New York Yankees.
Yeah, this has not been a good year for Aaron Boone as a manager. But we got to be fair. It's definitely been his worst season as Yankees manager. He was good in his first year, was great in his second year, but this has not been a good year for Aaron Boone. It all started with when he left James Paxton in that game, and it's been just downhill ever since. It's just not been a good year for Aaron Boone. And yeah, stop it with the analytics. Just make moves that make baseball sense. Stop just going all analytics. Yeah, you go like Joe always says, you go a little analytics, a little bit of what your gut tells you, but you can't go all analytics and think you're going to be successful.
Yeah, it doesn't really work, I don't think, for a New York Yankees team, and it hasn't. And the other thing I'm not happy with Boone is at the moment is. I don't know if you heard what he said last night, but he said we did a lot of things well last night.
What do you mean you did a lot of things well? You lost the game 2-1, and you couldn't hit it all. What do you mean you did a lot of things well?
I don't know, and that's the problem what I have with Boone. I know they fired Girardi because he criticized Gary, and they wanted to go happy, go lucky guy.
No. The reason they fired Girardi is they didn't want to pay him. That was the reason they fired Girardi.
I think it was a little the criticizing
Sanchez. But come on, the reason they didn't pay him is they didn't want to give him a new contract, and they had the decision made before that year. He was a lame duck manager that year because they didn't think the Yankees were going to be good, and then they have a year they come out of nowhere and get to the ALCS, and if they would have gotten to the World Series, he would still have been the manager because they wouldn't have fired him. But the reason they fired him, yes, the Gary Sanchez thing I think factored into it, but the biggest reason was his contract expired.
Yeah, that's definitely another one. But I don't know, and I know why they brought him in, but we see him get ejected. Like, there's some anger in there. Like, I know you don't have to call a guy on the press conference, but at least say, well, we're not doing, at least get some fire in these guys' bellies or something. And don't come out and say, do you think we're Yankee fans are idiots watching this? Like,
No. It's just it's all PR stuff. He just says things to the media. He's not, he's not saying that to his team behind closed doors. I mean, he's lying to the fans, but he's just giving the fans nothing and trying to say everything's good when everything just clearly hasn't been for the last 20 games. It's been terrible.
Yeah, it has, and it's just again, the lineup for most part, guys. I think since like this really started, most guys are batting under 200. Who I think the only one that's not right now is Clint Frazier. He's kind of been the only one. Mike Tauchman can't hit this year. He cannot hit a fastball to save his life at this point. And then again, I'm not I know we've talked about it too, Steve. I'm not a guy that says, "Oh, let's cut Gary Sanchez, let's trade Gary Sanchez, let's throw him down to AAA."
But he needs to be better than this. He's just been horrible this year. He's been horrible. That's a fact. I don't want to hear any Yankee fans deny that. Yeah, I'm not for setting him down or trading him, but this has been by far his worst season as a Yankee.
It has, and the thing is too, he wasn't great last year average wise.
But he still hit for power last year.
He did, but he hit for more power than he had. He's been just. I don't know what's wrong. He hasn't hit Michael Kay was saying he has not hit like a fastball, inner part of the plate at all this year. He just foul tips it all. I don't know what it is, what's going on with him, but again, I'm starting to get a little bit worried about Gary because again, this isn't. I'd say a slump's like a week or two. He's played almost 30 games. I would say 28, 30 games. I'd say that's not really, again, it shouldn't really be a slump anymore, I'm not giving up on Gary in that, but I'm starting to get worried. And then kind of my last thing here is I think they miss a CC in the locker room. And I know Aaron Judge is probably that voice, but the thing is he's back in the Bronx right now, trying to get back on the field. So I think they kind of missed that. I don't, I'm surprised maybe Gardy's not that good because we've seen Gardy, he's always kind of had CC that voice in the locker room. I think they also missed that leader right now. I think that's also another one.
Yeah, that's an outstanding point, Justin. I mean, yeah, they definitely missed that leader. And the thing is, Gardy could be that guy, but to be a leader on a team, I feel like you got to really be playing well. And Gardner has just not been playing well at all. So I don't think, if he's getting on guys and everything, the guys will go back to him and say, look at your play. You're hitting under 200. So if you're going to be a leader, you got to be, and it's not like, and the thing is CeCe Sabathia, even when he wasn't pitching well, he was a Hall of Famer. Gardner was been a respected player for the Yankees, but he's not at the level of doesn't have the respect of CeCe Sabathia. So I still think that great point there, not having a CeCe in that locker room. And I think this team does lack leadership. It lacks a guy back in the day, Paul O'Neill, who would hit a water cooler or get upset to get this team back on track. They missed like a guy like a Paul O'Neill too. They missed that leadership in this locker room. Outstanding point, Justin. There.
Yeah, definitely that. And then the last thing too is what was that? I think going back to that point of Paul O'Neill knocking down like a water cooler or something. We've seen Gardy, slam his bat into the dugout. I know he's struggling, but again, somebody needs to start. I don't know. Like again. The scary thing was I thought, okay, Cashman's coming in here. We're going to see a great effort tonight. And I didn't. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, he came to this series in Buffalo and they've lost 2 games. And the bullpen imploded on Monday night.
Yeah, so, I'm kind of worried about this team right now. I know Judge and Stanton, could come back and help. But, again, they come back, a week or two before regular season ends? And then Tampa, like, how fresh would they be? I just – again, I'm really worried the next time Garrett Cole takes the ball and how bad the season's going. He's going to need Tommy John's going to miss all next year. Like this, it's just just bad thing that they're just again, it just kind of looks like a little league team out there at times.
Yeah.
With Luke Voigt's error the other night, again, you're still up 6-3 at that point, or 6-2, and it's just, they just give up 10 runs the next. It's just, it was, again, they just look awful right now. And the Orioles, Tigers, and Mariners are all right behind you right now. And I think that's the biggest kind of embarrassment right now.
Yes. Speaking of 2020, I mean, you look at the Orioles are a half game behind the Yankees. You got the Tigers a game, and you got the Mariners close too. So speaking of 2020, it's 2020 when those teams are close to the Yankees. This was a normal year, they probably wouldn't even be anywhere near. I mean, the Yankees might not be that great, but they wouldn't be anywhere near the Yankees. So it's 2020 when those teams are this close. And speaking of the Orioles and Garrett Cole, big. Who would have ever thought this series with the Orioles would be a big series? This is actually a huge 4-game series at the stadium this weekend. I mean, on Thursday, Garrett Cole in a game where if he doesn't pitch well, he is going to get crucified by the media if he doesn't pitch well against the Orioles Thursday night. I mean, Garrett Cole has to pitch well in that game on Thursday against the Orioles. You look at it, they got Cole and Tanaka 1 and 2. Those got to be wins. You got Montgomery in the third game and then Happ in the fourth game. The way Happ and Tanaka pitched recently, those got to be wins. Garrett Cole, that's got to be a win. The Yankees got to take at least 3 out of 4 in this series against the Orioles.
Oh, God, yeah. They have to, and again, you get your ace, you get Garrett Cole, you get a guy you're paying $324 million. They need him to beat the Orioles. And I don't think we'd be talking like the Orioles is a must-win game, but it is. You got to set the tone for this weekend series and start to feel good about yourselves and start to just, again, get 1 win, then get 2, and then just start to get on a little bit of a roll here would be huge just for him. And even for tonight, like Davey Garcia has been good through his first 2 starts. Again, hopefully they get another start from him. Hopefully you leave Buffalo with at least 1 win tonight.
Yeah, hopefully tonight we got Davey Garcia against Tanner Roque. The Yankees need, even though Garcia's pitching, the Yankees definitely need to win tonight. But a month ago, we never thought this was going to happen. We never thought we were going to see this. But on Saturday, the ACC is playing, and they're playing college football. And we know, even though these matchups are really not good matchups, Justin cannot wait for these games. He's been looking forward to this all year long. I think, yes, college football played last week, but this is kind of, to me, this is the official beginning of college football. You got the first power conference taking the field. You got the ACC taking the field this week. They got 4 games, I believe, within each other, and we're going to talk about all 4 of those games. And we're going to start with the Saturday night game between Clemson and Wake Forest. And obviously, we know with Clemson, with Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne, they should have a huge day on offense against Wake Forest. They should score a bunch of points. I think they get into the 40s. And the funny thing is, during the pandemic, I had time. I watched this documentary on Netflix about quarterbacks, and one of them was Sam Hartman. And he's the quarterback for Wake Forest. And I think he looked pretty good in high school, but this is his first full year as a starter at Wake Forest. I think against a defense, against Brett Venables' defense, I think he's going to struggle. I think this is going to be a blowout. I think I got Clemson winning this game by 4 scores.
Yeah, I get Clemson win this one big. I did see that documentary, QB1 Beyond the Lights.
That's a good one. Really good one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good series.
Had Justin Fields and Jacob Fromm in it too, and Spencer Rattler, the quarterback of Oklahoma.
Yeah, so it's a good inside look.
I loved it. It was great I loved watching it.
Oh yeah, Abriel Mitchell was actually UConn was the second choice behind Iowa State.
Oh really?
Wow. Not him, but
yeah.
I'm going back to this game here. Sam Hartman broke his leg his freshman year because he started a little bit, his freshman year because Newman was hurt as well. Now kind of gets 100% of the controls here. But yes, this is going to be difficult. Again, Brent, Clemson every year, they lose pieces on both sides of the ball. Same this year. But Venables always rebuilds it. It's going to be a tough matchup. And I don't see Clemson having any issues.
Doesn't Wake have a good pass rusher?
They do. Charles Bassman Jr.
Yeah.
All ACC, second in sacks in the AC, and second in tackles for loss. Definitely an upper prospect.
What team does Amari Rodgers play for?
Clemson. He's been a guy, wide receiver, that they've been looking to step up the last few years, and he hasn't. But now They really need him to be that number 2 guy with Justin Ross being out for the season. And I expect him to really play well and a guy to watch out for in that Clemson offense. But, they got him, and then they got ETN in the backfield. And Lawrence's last 8 regular season games, 22 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So I see he's going to have no problems against this Clemson defense.
Yeah, and Wake Forest, their best receiver opted out too, right?
No, Ross is hurt. You mean for Wake? Yeah,
Wake, yeah, their best receiver opted out.
Yeah, Sage Surratt Jr., which hurts too because this Wake team loves to they will run a play every 12, 13 seconds. They will they're fast, but that's also going to hurt Sam Hartman as well.
Yeah, so Clemson should not have a problem at Wake Forest on Saturday night. But we got a matchup in South Bend as Daniel Jones's former team, the Duke Blue Devils, head up to South Bend to face the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And I think this is another game that Notre Dame wins big. I know Notre Dame lost their best receiver in Chase Claypool. I know they lost their best running back's not coming back either. Justin, is that right?
Yeah.
Their best running back's gone too. They got a really good defense. So I think Notre Dame wins this game. This is another game where I think Notre Dame wins big. I think this is Duke's third different starting quarterback in 3 years. Because I don't think the guy that played last year, I don't think he came back either. He was a senior last year too, right?
Yeah. It's now Clemson transfer Chase Bryce.
Oh, wow.
So, Notre Dame used 6 different running backs a year ago. They're kind of hoping that one of them is able to take the reins in that backfield and be the one guy. They did get rid of Chip Long, O coordinator there for a while. Probably a name you recognize, Tommy Reese.
Yes, I remember. Yes.
Stepped in as a new OC here for Brian Kelly. Did coach the offense in the bowl game. They look good over Iowa State. They did lose their top 3 wide receivers. They got 4 seniors back on the old line with a junior, so their offensive line should be able to protect Ian Book. He said last year in the first half when he struggled, he just lost his confidence. His decision making wasn't very good. Said he feels a lot better now, much more confident. So I expect a big year for Ian Book and this Duke team. Dave Cutler's done a great job with this Duke program. This was always the worst team in the ACC, just not even competitive. He's done a great job since taking the job. And this Duke team was 5-7, had a chance to get the bowl game, turned the ball over at the North Carolina 1-yard line, the season finale. This could be interesting. Duke's losing a couple pieces on offense. But I think Notre Dame should be able to win. I think, I got Notre Dame win by 34-17. They should be able to take care of business in this one.
I'm a David Cutcliffe guy, though, because he coached Eli Manning and Daniel Jones. So I know, I'm a David Cutcliffe guy, but I definitely got to go with the Irish in this one. But we got an ACC matchup, probably maybe the most competitive game of the weekend. We got Georgia Tech heading down to Tallahassee to face Florida State. And Georgia Tech had a really rough year last year. They were 3-9. They weren't that good. But Florida State's not that good either. And Florida State lost their best offensive player. They lost Cam Akers. He got drafted by the Rams in the 3rd round. But I think the biggest difference in this game, I think this is a low-scoring game, but I think Marvin Wilson, a guy who's projected to be a top 10 pick, I think he makes a difference in this game, and I think Florida State wins a close one.
Yeah, I got Florida State winning close. Again, for Coach Collins at Georgia Tech, second year now, again, he had to get rid of this triple option offense, and it's tough. Their average on the offensive line last year, 6'1", 264.
Wow, you're gonna get destroyed in FBS having that.
Yeah,
you're gonna get destroyed being that small in FBS.
Yeah, that was kind of last year's line. So that they're getting some new guys here that are bigger, that could kind of help out. James Graham, he is very, very versatile. They need him to take the next step. Only completed 45% of his passes. They need him to be a lot better. They're 120th in yards per play with only 4 yards a play last year. So they really struggled. I like the direction. They're recruiting too. They're trying to change and everything. They're going to give Coach Collins time here. And I think, in a few years, you're going to see Georgia Tech be competitive again in the ACC. So you just got to give them time. Florida State, Mike Norvell's coming in here, running in a pro-style offense, but very up-tempo like he did at Florida State. This team, again, there's been 4th offense for Florida State in 4 years. Fourth offensive scheme.
There's no stability with the program since Jimbo Fisher left.
No, there's not. And this is already they're the seniors. This is already their third head coach. There were some issues in the locker room as well with kind of communication wise with all this COVID stuff going on. So I think Florida State's going to be able to win this thing very, very close. They were 119-2 against the pass last year. They're going to need that to be much, much better. But again, this Florida State team, it's going to take a year or two here to rebuild this thing back to where it belongs and one of the top teams in the FBS.
Well, we'll wrap up our college football talk talking about the best quarterback not named Trevor Lawrence in the ACC, and that is Sam Howell. He had a great year last year for UNC, 38 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And we remember North Carolina almost beat Clemson last year at North Carolina. So I'm telling you, North Carolina, they could be a team that, could if the ACC has 2 teams get in the playoffs, they could be a team that ends up getting into the college football playoff. I mean, the ACC is not that strong of a league, so they could be a team. Say they lose that one game. Do they play Clemson this year?
No, they avoid them.
Really? But if they play, they'll be in the championship game though if they play.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
So yeah. Oh, there's Notre Dame in their league too, or
Yep, Notre Dame. Yep, Notre Dame's all ACC besides Florida State South Florida next week they'll play. But yeah, they're all ACC schedule this year.
Oh, so but is North Carolina in Notre Dame's league?
They're not. They're not doing the league. It's just going to be like the Big 12, the top 2 records.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so it'll probably be between those 3 teams in the ACC, UNC, Notre Dame, and Clemson. But yeah, Sam Howell had a great year last year, and I think he has a big game against Syracuse this week. Syracuse had a bad year last year. It doesn't look like they're going to have that good of a year this year, so that's why I think North Carolina beat Syracuse by 3 or 4 scores.
Yeah, North Carolina, I think this is a team that I think could definitely make the playoffs, and they get Notre Dame on Black Friday at home.
Ooh, that's going to be a good one.
That would be fun. North Carolina, from this offense that was electric last year, 10 starters are back as well. So they're not going to miss a beat, and I feel like they should be fine. They should be revved up, ready to go. And especially for Syracuse, they bring in a new D coordinator. They're going to put in the new 3-3-5 scheme. So again, how much practice that they've had with that. So I think Sam Howell is going to be able to tear this secondary up of Syracuse. They're also bringing in a new offensive coordinator, Starling Gilbert, who did work with Jimmy G up in Eastern Illinois. Tommy DeVito completed 63% of his passes, but he was sacked right around 35 times a year ago. So they give him time. DeVito could be very good, but they lost a couple wide receivers. Tristan Jackson left for the draft. Also, Sean Riley, their slot guy's gone. I think it could be a very long year for the Qs. And then the last guy kind of for North Carolina, Chaz Surratt, was a QB until last season, and now they switched to the linebacker. He's all ACC linebacker a year ago. So a big upgrade there for North Carolina. This is going to be a really, really good team. This team should have beat Clemson last year. And I know would love to see them in Charlotte once again, or they'd love to see them in Charlotte this year. This North Carolina team, don't be shocked to see them in the college football playoff conversation.
Absolutely. Mac Brown is turning things around in Chapel Hill. But we'll wrap up the show talking about the conference finals in the NHL, and we'll talk about the Eastern Conference first. And the Lightning beat the Islanders big in Game 1. I think it was like 7-2. And maybe Lightning beat the Islanders 7-2. And I'll ask you this question, Justin: Are the Islanders kind of showing their true colors, or are the Lightning that good, or can the Islanders bounce back in this series?
So I think for the first two there, it's a combination of both. So I don't know if you know, Steve, but now they're not playing in Toronto. They're in Edmonton now. So the Islanders on their one off day here, they had to fly out to Edmonton, what I guess is like a 4-hour plane ride. So they didn't really get an off day here, which I think really hurt. But then I also think Tampa is just a much better team. I think this Tampa, especially the way that they've lost the last few years, I think Tampa now is going to be able to they just have so many pieces. I don't think the Islanders have enough. Victor Hedman's the best defensive man in
Defenseman,
the
yeah.
league. Steven Stamkos will not play in the series, but again, Braden Point's been great. Palat, they got Kucherov, and there's just too much, I think, for the Islanders to stop, and they don't have enough firepower. Again, they're not playing the Flyers anymore. They're not playing the Capitals anymore. They're not playing the Panthers anymore. I think Tampa right now is the best team in the NHL, and we're starting to see that. I think the Islanders will probably only get one game here. I think the Lightning are a much better team than they are. It's been a great story to see the Islanders get to this point, but I don't see them making this thing to game 6 or 7. They should have finished the Flyers off in game 5. They weren't able to do it. They had to play 2 overtime games and then fly out to Edmonton, which definitely hurts as well. But Tampa right now, they're playing like the best team in the NHL.
Look at the Western Conference, and the Golden Knights and the Stars tied at 1-1. I'll be honest, I got to know what I don't know. I don't know much at all about Western Conference hockey. Do you think this series is going to be pretty back and forth, pretty even? And can one of these teams beat the Lightning in the finals?
Yeah, I think Vegas probably would be the one that's got the better shot to beat Tampa just because they have the experience. I don't know. Marc-Andre Fleury is not the start anymore. It's Robert Robert Leonard now is the starting goalie for the Knights, and he's played pretty well. So far through the playoffs for these guys. Dallas, first time they're making the West Conference Finals here since 2008. Jamie Benn's been around for a while again, but this is his first kind of conference finals. They got Corey Perry, older guy that's been with the Ducks, got in the couple conference finals. Tyler Seguin, part of the Bruins Cup team in 2011. I think Vegas kind of just has the experience here where I think this will go 6 or 7. I think this will be a grinded out series. But I think the Knights are just a little bit better. They dominated the second period. They had 19 shots on goal, and they scored 3 goals in the second period. That was really the difference maker in last night's game.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens here. I mean, it definitely should be an interesting series to see who wins between those two teams and to see what ends up happening in the Stanley Cup Finals. But that's going to wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with R&J. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We will be back next week previewing week 2 of the NFL season. Have a great weekend, everyone.